We have started to record the most recent session of SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking, for the first summer session. It is Thursday, May 29th, 2025. Keep in mind, guys, that I record these videos on the same day that you see them. So session one, when you go down on this area of the student preview mode of Blackboard, which I'll show you in a moment, indicates that it was Wednesday, the 28th. Same thing for today. Keep in mind that because of the Memorial Day holiday, I will be here tomorrow. For at least the first week, our sessions are going to be someplace in the area of about 30 minutes, give or take. I want all of you to feel familiar with going to Blackboard on a regular basis, accessing information, accessing video clips, which I'll show you how to do in a moment. And then next week, getting into the nuts and bolts of recording on Canva or on Google Slides. And as you see on the bottom of the screen, incorporating your webcam into your presentations. And let me say something before we begin. You recall that yesterday I put my coffee cup on screen for a few times, indicating that I am always grading or viewing your presentations with the glass being half full. Whenever you record presentations on your computer, it's very important that you take your headphones and plug them in to your computer. And here's why. It's not unusual for many of us to incorporate audio or video into our presentations. However, if you do not plug your headphones into the computer, you're going to get basically double audio. Audio that's being recorded from the microphone, in this case from my webcam, but also from what you can't see, I have my Bose computer speakers. So if you don't plug your headphones in, it's going to cause some real feedback problems. And it's a real challenge to understand what you're trying to say. So that's why it's important to experiment. It's important to practice. You'll remember what I did yesterday was this. With my preset on Loom, Loom, my visual is always from the webcam on the left-hand bottom of the screen, where I prefer it to be on the right-hand side. Now, if you want to use something like Microsoft SharePoint or different kinds of technologies which allow us to see the entire screen and your shining visage on camera, like in my case in the bottom right-hand side, and I also have a couple of items that I want you to consider, such as a ring light. Watch closely. You want to make certain that you practice enough so you are strategically located in an area of the camera, not only where you feel comfortable, but also in a situation that's going to be as well lit as it can be. That's why you just don't take anything for granted when it comes to recording your presentations, which is why I'd indicated yesterday that you want to record multiple takes. For instance, this is my second take of the day. I made a verbal faux pas in the first 30 seconds, so I just stopped it. But everything here is going to be recorded in real time. So watch closely. This was where we were at yesterday with instructor introduction, communication and interaction policy, minimum required technology and skills, module overview, instructor information, course syllabus, instructor course videos posted daily at 4 p.m. I closed that link intentionally because in the student preview mode, you have announcements, which I showed you yesterday. You go back to content, in this location, scroll down until you get to instructor course videos. Now you can see what we were discussing yesterday. That is a link to my YouTube channel. So if I click on this, what you'll find is a video, and I'm going to put that in this window instead. So my webcam should go by the wayside. That is a video more than 30 minutes in length from yesterday's class session. Let's check out bits and pieces of it, unmuting the audio, leaving the screen this way for the time being, not making it full screen. But let's check out bits and pieces of what I talked about 24 hours ago. Welcome. We have started the first session of SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking, for the first summer session. It is Wednesday, May 28th, 2025. I use a technology called Loom. Notice what I do at the bottom of the screen. I took my face and put it on the far right-hand side. I did that intentionally because, of course, in an online public speaking course, we have to incorporate your face into either a presentation you have completed on Canva or on Google Slides. That information is going to be recorded at your leisure, and then it will be sent to me, a link, either to my alternate Yahoo email address or to my SAU email address. My SAU business card, waiting for it to open, and you can certainly see that. Most of the time, if you have any questions about anything, the best way to contact me is through my SAU email address, but I do have an alternate Yahoo address that you can actually go to as well. Then early on Thursday of next week, so we can record them in real time. I'll talk about that tomorrow. But a demonstrative speech is more than enough. So that's why you always need to remember, how can I take my material and put it into a time span of 4 to 5 minutes? What I'm going to do now is something that I do quite frequently with student presentations. Put on closed captioning. Am I practicing what I preach in terms of speaking in a complete sentence structure? Let's check out the last 2 minutes of yesterday's initial class session. Scroll back down. Anything you need to know about the course in the student preview mode of Blackboard is right here. Again, I wanted to do it this way today so you would just feel comfortable going back and forth and back and forth. Those of you who are my students in mass communication or mass media who have used technology know that the first couple of times you're using new technology, you feel a little bit uncomfortable, but the more you utilize it, the better you are. In the same way that when you see my shining visage at the bottom of the screen, that's the way you're going to be presenting your speeches. So start to experiment over the weekend with a video technology that you feel comfortable with, whether it's on Canva to incorporate your webcam or whether it's Google Slides. Don't worry about making mistakes, guys, because nobody's going to see them. Whenever I show your graded speeches in class, it's going to be the best representation of what you felt was your best demonstrative, informative, persuasive, or wild card video recording. All of the rest you can learn from. If I go to my Loom library, I have all different kinds of videos which nobody ever sees because I may have made a mistake or screwed up. I'm going to mute my audio for just a moment. Notice how I wrap things up. Then I'm going to show you what my YouTube channel looks like from this location. Watching yourself making certain that the best representation of what you can do in a class like this is going to be shown to your peers is really important. You make impressions every day, whether it's on social media, whether it's in a different format, whether it's face to face, by the way in which you speak and communicate. And what I want to do in this class is to make certain that all of you are maximizing your abilities in terms of content, delivery, and visuals. So I look forward to working with you over the next 5 weeks. And always remember, no later than 4 p.m. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday only of this week, session 1, session 2, and session 3. Good luck. As for SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking for the first summer session of 2025, that concludes the recording session for today. Notice what happens whenever I click on my name. That is my YouTube channel. From this location, if you scroll down, you can see yesterday's class session. If you want to see a bigger icon, as many of you know who have YouTube channels, the most recent video that you posted is going to be under the video category, the latest, right here. Other videos that you see are from classes from years gone by. But if I continue to scroll through here, eventually I will come down to presentations that were given in this class last year, session 19, our final regularly scheduled class session from 1 year ago. And as you can see, I'm using the Loom technology, LOOM, there as well. So that's my YouTube channel. You don't have to subscribe. Just remember that if you go to the student preview mode of Blackboard, or in your case, just go to Blackboard, all of these video links will be available for you to examine. So while I'm thinking about it, now we return to me, where you can see my face on the webcam one more time. Session 2 is going to be posted right there. Student video examples, which are going to be more populated as time goes on. A demonstrative speech on a handmade felty, an informative speech on mental health matters, a persuasive speech on virtual reality and education, and a wildcard presentation of panic attacks. Representative samples of what students exactly in your position and as of class time today, session 2, May 29th, there are 9 people in this class. And I'm always going to be recording sometime around noon, maybe a little later. But because now I'm on camera, I want to reiterate that when it comes time for you to submit your graded presentations, please make certain that you do so no later than 12 o'clock noon, either on Wednesday or Thursday of class sessions, so I can include, like I'm doing right now, your videos in a recorded class session, so they're all recorded for posterity. And don't let that freak you out. It's the best way to learn. With that in mind, let me go back to the syllabus, because we do have new people here. This is our course itinerary. And because we were experimenting yesterday, now I'll make it a little bit bigger. So today is course requirements part 2. Tomorrow, our only Friday, is effective content, delivery, and visuals. Next week, Monday and Tuesday, research for the demonstrative speech and topic selection. And then June 4th and June 5th, Wednesday and Thursday, day 1 and day 2. Don't worry about practicing anything now. All you need to remember is watch the videos over and over again. Go to some of the links that are available right here for student speech video examples. And since the pandemic, I've always taught some type of an online public speaking course. That's why I only go back 2020 through first summer session of last year. So now what I want to do is to go back to my YouTube channel and show you a playlist. From this location, if you go to radio, TV, speech and media materials, don't click here because it will automatically start the first video. Go to playlist right here. Notice that it opens in a different window. Also notice that I've been a college professor for a long time. But when you start to scroll down and just continue to scroll, these are in chronological order. What you're looking for now is anything that is SPCH 1113. That's my advanced public speaking course, 3123, that many of you are more than welcome to enroll in during the spring semester of 2026 if you stay at Southern Arkansas University at that time. We have demonstrative speeches literally going back 30 years. Summer 2 of 1994. This person is now a business executive in Asia. We also have class examples of demonstrative speeches from more than 20 years ago when I was videotaping all of the presentations. But for your benefit, starting in the fall of 2020, we have all kinds of demonstrative speeches that are categorized not only by topic, but when they were offered. Fall 2020, fall intersession of 2020, that was during the pandemic, spring 2021, summer 1 2021, summer 1 2022, summer 1 2023, and summer 1 2024. Now it goes on with different examples from the same time periods from the informative, persuasive, and wild card categories. But if you wanted to scroll on this playlist all the way to the bottom, you're going to find course videos from the instructor that I taught during the summer. As you can see, summer 1, 2022. I was using Blackboard video at that time, which no longer is available, so I changed over to Loom, Loom. You also see all of my course sessions from summer 1 of 2023, and eventually we will get into last year, summer 1, 2024. The reason I wanted to make all of these videos available to you in a playlist is that you can see for many of these sessions, 1, 2, and 3, our first week last year, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and the times get a little bit longer. Notice that our times last year are roughly about the same. And then when we get into graded presentations, that's when the times become a little bit longer because I want to, as I mentioned a moment ago, incorporate all of your graded presentations into class. But when you start looking at all of these videos at your leisure, just start to scroll through. You'll see every student's graded, demonstrative, and informative, and persuasive, and wildcard speech to give you an opportunity to see how you stack up with your content, with your delivery, with your visuals. It may be greater, it may be lesser, but don't get hung up too much about grading yourself against someone else. You have as much information here to maximize your ability as a quality public speaker. And that's all I really care about. Let's come back to me. We have returned to Blackboard, the student preview mode, which I do intentionally. So this is exactly the way that you would see data on the screen. Yesterday's course video with session 2 coming up soon. And then demonstrative speeches, informative, persuasive, wildcard. Those are going to be populated much more greatly. I was telling you about a demonstrative speech. Let's go now to the actual syllabus itself. Unlike yesterday, I'll make it slightly bigger. And remind all of you that, of course, 100 points is the total for the course. There's a link to my instructor website, which I'll show you probably tomorrow or Monday. My X account, which used to be known as Twitter. If you need to contact me, now because I've made this a little bit bigger, you can see that all of these links are highlighted when you scroll over them on Blackboard. My SAU email address, the alternate email, which is Yahoo, and course messages, as you know, or announcements on Blackboard. Extemporaneous speaking is what we're doing in this course. I never know exactly what I'm going to sound like until the words actually come out of my mouth. But I practice this so much in terms of all of the tabs that are on the screen. I have a relatively good idea as to what I'm going to say, and disciplining myself in real time as to try to, as you noticed from closed captioning, speak in a complete sentence structure and not get ahead of myself and speak too fast. That's my bugaboo. Occasionally, I have so much that I want to impart that I start speaking really, really fast. And when that happens, you start to either slur your words or you might be more open to what I call a vocalic, right there where the cursor is. A vocalic, if you have a textbook, and there is no textbook required for this course, is a vocalized pause. Ah, uh. Then there are issues with grammar, like, you know, kinda, wanna, gonna. Some of us might have filler words that take the place of a vocalic. And now are two things that I rely on as a verbal crutch. But I would much rather have you do that or have a little bit of a pause. In your parlance, that may seem like an eternity, but I would much rather have you pause, look at your notes, and then continue. There may be a way where you can clean up some of the gaps on your video clips, but to me, it's not that big a deal because in real life, you can't go back and rewind the videotape. It's no big deal to make a slight boo-boo. What you want to know is when you're watching a video that we don't see, what causes hesitancy? Do you need to juxtapose a slide? That's why all of those videos that you can find on my YouTube channel, and I'll continue to populate them on Blackboard, are so important. Where does a person place their webcam? Do they, like me, put it in the bottom right-hand side? Are you going to be putting it someplace else? Do you feel comfortable communicating on camera? Make certain that your persona comes through. And that's what we'll be talking about tomorrow with the checklist for the SAU speech critique. But my original point was for a demonstrative speech. It is a how-to. So when you look at that list, and I'll go back to it one more time, I always wait because I want to make certain that it's on the screen. That is my YouTube channel. Clicking on the playlist, again, not here, but go to the playlist. And then you just scroll down for this week. I don't want to go too fast. But right there where you can see starting with SAU demonstrative speech, just start scrolling through all of these, which are representative examples of many hundreds that have been sent to me on video in this format since the pandemic. And I always teach the basic public speaking course during the summer. There might be something here that you want to examine. If you like peanut butter blossom cookies, there's a cooking demonstration. If you want to discuss how to babysit, there's an example. How to teach your dog a new trick. How to make a glass music frame souvenir. And then we get down into the informatives. But anywhere in this window, I think, is appropriate for you to examine for the overall success. Now we're back at the student preview mode of Blackboard. Notice what I do. This is an example that you can click on for a Summer 1 2024 demonstrative speech. So I want to show that to you right now in real time. Here it is. This is from Maryland, and I have intentionally muted the audio. Occasionally on YouTube, these might start. I'm going to play her speech fully, but I'll probably stop about halfway through and put on closed captioning to see whether, and this was her first graded presentation 1 year ago, how she is speaking in a complete sentence structure. This is a demonstrative speech on a handmade felty, a how-to, Summer 1 2024. Here it is.
Hi, my name is Mariela Knuckles, and this is my speech for the first week of Introduction to Public Speaking in the first summer session. I will be presenting to you all how to make a handmade felty. So what is a felty? A felty is typically a small decorative object. It can also be a stuffed animal, it can be a keychain, a magnet, a hairpiece, ornament, a hair clip. It can be various items, and it's used with felt and maybe embroidered, and it can be hand sewn or it can be sewn using a sewing machine. This is an example of a felty that was created and sewn onto a hair tie. So the materials and necessities that are needed for this project would be felt sheets, sewing needles, a pin cushion, stuffing, Sharpies or fabric markers, fabric scissors, regular scissors, thread, and a felt pattern. Now, for you to have a felt pattern, you're probably going to need internet access and a printer. Here are some of my materials that I use because I decided to create a felty for this project as well. This is the template that I have, and the scissors. I decided to go with gray, white, and black felt for my project. Here are some of the sewing needles, and here's the stuffing. So, are you new to sewing? If you're new to sewing, especially sewing felt, you're going to need to know the basics. Here are some of the methods. With this would be a whip stitch, a blanket stitch, and a running stitch. Those are the most common felt stitches that are used. I have included an image here for everyone to view, and it includes 9 embroidery stitches for beginners. In this has the running stitch, a split stitch, a back stitch, whip stitch, blanket stitch, fly stitch, and so on. Whenever you're creating a feltie, this is the process. For step 1, you're going to want to gather your materials, and this would be printing off your pattern, selecting your decided felt colors and pieces of thread that you want. You're going to need to make sure to get everything set up and ready to go so that you have everything prepped for step 2. Step 2 would be prepping your felt with a pattern. Cut out your pattern, and you're going to want to trace each section using a Sharpie or a fabric marker. You're going to trace directly onto the felt and make sure to get it as close to the pattern that you've cut out as possible.
So we're just about at the halfway point of Marilyn's speech. Notice that I went full screen on her presentation, which I will be doing with yours as well. But let's see whether or not, even for a first graded speech, where you're learning the technology, you're trying to make certain that you are coming across in a thoughtful, knowledgeable manner, but most of you have never done this before, where you're taking your webcam and incorporating it into your slides. Now, I don't know if this is Google Slides or Canva that she used. In the bottom of the screen, she is using Loom, Loom, because she has taken the timer and placed it right next to her webcam. Let's put this in closed captioning, watch the rest of her speech, and we'll take it from there.
As to avoid any unnecessary errors. For step 3, the thread in the needle. That is very important. You're going to want to cut your traced felt pieces out of the felt sheets and thread your sewing needle with the chosen color of thread that you're using for that particular part. Step 4, you're going to sew the details on first. So on the front facing part of your item, you're going to begin to sew any flat details to the front of the face of the body. For example, on my feltie that I made, the eyes here, 2 little white dots were created first, and then the black pupils, his stomach, and then I sewed on the threading for part of his stomach. This is actually a character from a movie that I like called My Neighbor Totoro, and his name is Totoro. Step 5 would be lining up the pieces of felt. You want to line up your felt front-facing piece to your back-facing piece and make sure that they're as even and equal as possible. They don't have to be perfect, but you definitely need them to try and match. You can check for errors and you can trim around the edges with some scissors, and it will be a very easy process. Moving on to step 6, you're going to sew the front and the back together. For my personal preference, I tend to sew from the bottom up, but that has to do with the stuffing process that I like. You're going to want to make sure that you start sewing around the edges of your felt so that the feltie looks nice and cohesive. For step 7, you're going to start stuffing your feltie. You're going to stuff it as you're sewing, so take breaks in between sewing parts and begin to stuff it. You're going to want to make sure that it is secure enough that the stuffing will not fall out.
Notice how expressive she is, taking a subject that she feels very comfortable with to demonstrate. And this is not easy. That's why whenever you're demonstrating a process, you want to play around with a lot of ideas to find out what's going to work best for you and naturally bring out your personality. Because if you do that and if you practice, you're going to be extemporaneous and you're going to be conversational. Let's take off the closed captioning. She's doing a good job of speaking in complete sentences. And let's pay attention to just under the last minute 40 of her speech. Again, taking it to full screen.
While you're sewing it. And always leave an opening in case you have smaller parts, like his ears, for example, to stuff them as well if you wish. For step 8, you're going to want to sew the felties shut, and this would be sewing up the final part of your piece and making sure to tie off the thread so you can secure it properly. This is a video that I did of whenever I was creating him, and I sewed up the top, and I left some open so that I could stuff him well. For my final product, here he is. He is looking nice and snazzy, and he sits up well. He's about the size of my hand. He's quite small, and I think he is wonderful. Thank you for watching. These are some other examples of felties that I've made in the past. On the right, we have a snowy owl, which is meant to represent Hedwig from Harry Potter. I'm a big fan. It took multiple thread colors and multiple colors of felt. And on the other side, on the left, we have a manatee, which is my favorite animal, and I just used gray for that project and used black felt for the eyes. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.
Now, I want to go back to about the 5-minute, 20-second mark. This is where your creativity comes to the fore. And I'll keep the audio up. Notice how she has utilized her own video and placed it into a slide and is talking about demonstration in real time with that video.
Making sure to tie off the thread so you can secure it properly. This is a video that I did of whenever I was creating him, and I sewed up the top, and I left some open so that...
Now I'm going to mute her audio. Guys, this is something that I do a lot. For those of you who are scholar athletes, you're going to be watching video of your practice sessions and of your games all the time to check how you can improve. Same thing here. Let me go back and show it to you again. The design consistency for the slides, utilizing any kind of visual or video. And by the way, that's why it's important, as I told you at the outset, to make certain that when you are recording speeches for this class, you plug in your headphones so you're not going to have any kind of awkward feedback whenever we're watching the speech. You're not going to catch that on my videos because I can hear Marilyn's voice through my headphones. She does an outstanding job considering the fact that she did have stage fright, which is not unusual in the least. Let's come back to Blackboard. And you see me one more time. I'll close up this. I'll close up this. Go back to the top. Now let me show you a couple of bits of interactivity. The instructor introduction. You have a link to my Southern Arkansas University profile. Under instructor information, you have not only my business card, but the SAU Mass Communication website. And I'm going to click on that and show you what my website looks like. When you click on that link, here's what you see. Links to my social media platforms, including X, but for your benefit, let's go all the way to the bottom. And remember, this link is available on Campus Connect through Blackboard. So if you scroll down to the bottom, you're going to eventually come to Introduction to Public Speaking. That's the itinerary, which opens in a different window. That's the checklist, which we'll be talking about tomorrow, which opens in a separate window. There's the syllabus at another location, which opens in a separate window. But now you have all different kinds of demonstrative speech outlines, demonstrative speech audio presentations, because during the pandemic and afterwards, some kids did not necessarily have access to a webcam and they were recording them on audio. Tons of different types of demonstrative or how-to speeches. Some of these are also videos. That was done during the pandemic as a video clip. That was done, I believe, during the summer a couple of years ago. That video is from 1994, which shows that I save everything, a cooking presentation. And then down here we have other video clips and audio clips. And then we get into projects that we don't do anymore, group discussions. As I was showing you with my YouTube channel, and by the way, if I scroll back to the top, you'll notice, and I'll make this really fast, I'll scroll all the way to the top, and then I'll bring it down. There's a link to my X platform, but in your case, the YouTube channel would really be most important. That would open in a separate window, and you would see my YouTube channel that I've already discussed previously. Let's come back to me for just a moment. And I will close all of this data. I want to go to one more piece of interactivity. Loom, Loom, and we will come back here. Loom is what I use to blend any video with, in my case, internet data. In your case, it would look slightly different. But all of these are videos that I have produced or students have produced, uploaded to my YouTube channel after being downloaded from Loom. I'll talk about this a little bit more probably tomorrow and on Monday, but just start to acquaint yourself with whatever technology you feel most comfortable with that is going to utilize both a webcam and your slides. So as we wrap things up for session 2, which is course requirements part 2, remember that from this location, you'll be able to access session 2. From this location, you can go to the SAU Mass Communication website, which also has a link to my YouTube channel. From this location, I'll be adding more demonstrative speech videos, but they're available on my YouTube channel. Don't feel like, as I had indicated earlier, you have to start doing research on topics. Get comfortable with playing around with all of these links on Blackboard. Get comfortable with speaking in front of a webcam. Get comfortable with how you're going to take your webcam, whether it's me with a preference for bottom right, or as you noticed with Marilyn, bottom left, that's okay as well. We will continue tomorrow with this. From the course syllabus area, we will return to the course itinerary, make it slightly bigger, so you can see that we are looking today, course requirements part 2, session 2, session 3 for tomorrow, our only Friday of the first summer session, effective content, delivery, and visuals. So what do I mean by that? When you come here, I will be discussing this information in detail tomorrow. How you can best, for your own purposes, self-evaluate your content and delivery, also with your visuals. Those 21 categories we'll be discussing in detail, and also taking a look at different demonstrative speeches from years gone by. I look forward to working with you, as I'd indicated at the end of class yesterday, with any of these topics, but demonstrative how-to is first. As for SPCH 1113, Introduction to Public Speaking, for the first summer session of 2025, will resume in 24 hours on Friday with session 3, and that concludes the recording session for today.